Now, remember this story, a woman jailed for illegally obtaining abortion tablets to end her pregnancy during lockdown will be released from prison after the Court of Appeal reduced her sentence. Carla Foster was originally handed a 28-month sentence in June. Caroline Noakes, chair of the Women and Equalities Committee, is with us. Now, we talked about it at the time. It's a relief, but the mental damage it must have caused for her must be immense.
Absolutely. It will have had a huge impact both on her and her 3 children who have been without their mother for, I think it's 35 days, so 5 weeks without a mum. And really difficult, I think, now for her to rebuild her life and move forward. But I'm so relieved that the appeal court judges have made this decision.
They have. She shouldn't have found herself in that position in the first place.
Well, look, it's a horrible case, and I think we have to be honest about that. What she did was very wrong, but it was always open to the original trial judge not to impose the 28-month sentence that he did. It could have been suspended in the first place. And I think that's why at the time there were lots of discussions about this was something that Parliament should look at. The judge himself said that Parliament should be debating our laws around abortion, which are very outdated. The Offences Against the Person Act dates back to the 1860s, the Abortion Act to the 1960s. This is long before telemedicine had ever been thought of, long before we ever thought you'd be able to get abortion by a tablet. And so I think it's time that we have a really measured and compassionate debate about what we can do to support women going through a horrible, horrible tragedy like this.
She was 30-odd weeks pregnant, though, when she aborted her baby.
And I said that right at the outset. This was a horrible crime. It shouldn't have happened. But what the appeal court judges were also concerned about was the lack of adequate reports into her mental health at the time. We know that this was during COVID, when many people were under enormous amounts of pressure. And I think that's why we need to look at it. And we know difficult cases can make bad law, but we need to look at this with compassion and understanding. We need to debate the whole issue around abortion so that we come to a better place, to be quite frank, than we are at the moment.
Your committee has been very busy debating other matters as well.
The committee's always very busy. We've recently published a report out today on honour-based abuse, which, again, a crime that's usually perpetrated against women. We see between 2,500 and 3,000 of these crimes every year. But we know that it's enormously hidden and that victims are scared to come forward, that services sometimes don't recognise it when it happens. And we're calling on the government to make sure that there's better training for frontline services, better collection of data. We simply don't know the scale of the issue, and to make sure that there is support for people, usually women, that are going through that horrific crime.
What does honour-based abuse tend to look like?
Well, it tends to be perpetrated by family members who mistakenly, misguidedly believe that an individual has brought shame upon a family for their actions, and that could be the family not agreeing with a relationship. It could be a family believing simply because the way a woman has chosen to dress has brought dishonour upon them. And we need to be prepared to tackle this crime, to talk about it and to increase awareness.
And what do you want the government to do?
Well, we've been very clear that we want the government to collect data in a uniform manner. We want training around honour-based abuse to be rolled out in a standardised way so that we can be confident that every police force recognises, that schools and the NHS recognise the signs of honour-based abuse. And we have said to the government, look, this is one of those issues that should be included in RSHE in schools, and urge them to look at it as part of their current review into that.